Well, good morning, everyone. We are back for another episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. I mean, you know, with these two guys, we should be calling NFL, NBA, Bitcoins, cryptocurrency fantasy matchup. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. We should just call it the water cooler. It's really just an excuse for the three of us to talk shop.
Yes. Yeah. And wouldn't you say a lot of times, Jed, since you mentioned this, is you got to find something besides work to really be able to clear your mind. This allows me, I enjoy it. It's a hobby. I wish I could do it full time. I probably won't be hired anytime soon to do it full time. But at the same time, it allows you to really be able to do something and clear your mind.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is stuff that we would do probably normally anyway. And so now it's just having a little fun with it.
Well, I'm at this coffee shop, and they're so nice over here because I was trying to set up everything, and the person who works here brought me a cup of coffee without me ordering it either.
Hey, you're a regular.
I know, right? It's like cheers.
Hey, you should give them a promo. Give them a little promo. Shout out where they are.
Yeah, it's Common Grounds here in Payson, Arizona, and Payson is about an hour and a half away from the Phoenix area, and we love it. We just moved here a few months ago, and it's a little bit different, but smaller than Chicago, but it's been great so far.
Good. Hey, going with NFL news of the day, one of the things that I did want to talk to you guys about, I'm not sure if you saw my Facebook post. I was sitting there driving to work, and I see Adam Schefter says the Bears had inquired about Julio Jones. Man, what would you think? If you were the Bears, would you have wanted Julio Jones, Jim?
Well, I think I was actually thinking about that because I saw that post. I think I would want instantaneous. Of course, you want him, right? But the question I would ask is, how much of his salary are you going to have to commit?
They're paying the whole thing,
right? Yep. So,
yeah,
and that's the thing.
I wouldn't have taken the whole thing because was it 15, 16 million?
Yeah, 60. I mean, here's the thing: is if the Bears even had to pony up, I mean, I could possibly see like maybe a half. Even that's quite a bit. But if you had to pony up the entire amount for Julio Jones, I think Julio's got one really good year, maybe another year where he's decent, but that's going to be dead money that's just sitting on your books.
Yeah, to me, like it's 1 year too early. Like that would be a move if the Bears thought they were going to win now. Yeah. If they were ready to win now, you pull him in, and man, that could put you over the top. But I feel like that's like 1 year away or 2 years away for the Bears. I love the move for Tennessee, though. I think it's a great move.
Yeah, very good. Hey, also going back to the Aaron Rodgers situation as well, too. Aaron Rodgers has an excused absence and will not be reporting to open mandatory minicamp that began yesterday. Davante Adams came out yesterday and says, I'll stand on a mountain and scream that I've got his back. Jed, what do you interpret it? Any thoughts?
That's interesting. The one piece I was just going to say, I thought this was interesting. I read an article. Someone said without Aaron Rodgers, that Green Bay will be bottom 10. Like they will be in the worst 10 teams of the league. I was like, that's pretty interesting to think that the drop will be that drastic, which, that might be right.
Yeah. I mean, but the only thing is, like, no one's ever seen Jordan Love, right? And so he might actually be halfway. I don't think he'll be an Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think he'll bring him all the way down to the bottom 10. So I don't know. You never know about these guys. They'll surprise you.
Yeah. Beat writer for the New Orleans Saints reports that they will be riding on Alvin Kamara a lot this season. Jameis Winston continues to struggle with inaccuracies. Are you drafting, Jim? Are you drafting Michael Thomas? Are you even looking at him in the first 2 rounds? Injury prone last year. Is that something that you're looking at?
Not at least not right now, right? Like, I think if you're here's the thing: if you see Michael Thomas in the 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th round, I'll grab him. Or even in auction league, if you can buy him for pretty cheap, he's actually a risk that I'm willing to take. But I'm not, if it's a straight snake draft, I'm not taking him in the first couple rounds, because here's the thing is, if Taysom Hill is the quarterback, last year showed that Taysom Hill and Michael Thomas didn't really work well together, right? But if Jameis Winston is the quarterback, I actually think that Michael Thomas will do well. but I think they're going to pull him because he's so inaccurate. And that's the thing that they keep joking around about him is they were like, this was never something that we didn't anticipate, because if you looked at his history in Tampa Bay, Winston was always inaccurate, and you would just hope that by learning from Drew Brees that things would be different. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, he's always been, to me, a volume passer. Like the volume is what makes up for the fact that he threw all the interceptions. And so without the volume, the fantasy value drops. And also same for Michael Thomas and even Alvin Kamara. I think this is going to put more pressure on the run game. And so that hurts Alvin Kamara, in my opinion.
I mean, you're right. Like I think the last year he was in Tampa Bay, he threw for tons of yards, and I can't remember the exact amount, but the number of touchdowns he tossed was the same as the number of interceptions, and they were pretty high.
Yeah. And plus, at the same time, we could not believe, even with Drew Brees, Michael Thomas was so bad last year. He was probably a first-round draft pick or early second round. He infuriated players because he just was never there. He was always injured, and so a lot of times – I'm not sure. I think a lot of times he is someone I am avoiding this year in the draft. Go ahead, Judd.
No, I was just going to say we're in the changing of the guard at the wide receiver position. You have to switch over to the new generation of players. I think that old tier of like who you dependently, kind of banked on. We're just in the middle of that switch, and so I think now he's one of those guys who he's gonna drop down.
But don't you think? Okay, if he's available for cheap on an auction league, won't you be tempted to pick him up? Though?
Yes,
right?
Agreed.
$8 or $9, I would. $8, $10.
Really? I actually I think maybe like I go up to like.
I'll be super cheap though.
Yeah.
But he would be one of those players where everyone has spent all their money and suddenly Michael Thomas gets picked in the 9th, 10th round, and people are bidding $3 starting bid, $6 starting bid.
Think so? No, I don't think. I think the average person that most of us will play with, they still will think that Michael Thomas is pretty good.
Yes.
I actually think he'll go in the mid-20s or the low 20s, mid-20s.
Yeah, he's still a big name, and he's still the number one wide receiver on the New Orleans offense. That's a pretty good position. So I agree, he can't fall that too far.
Yeah, he won't be that cheap.
Now, if that's the strategy, then Tommy Lee will be sitting there increasing the prices because I really don't want him, but I want somebody to spend that money.
Now, have you ever done that and gotten stuck, though? You do that.
Yes. I forgot who I did that with. And yes, I've gotten this stuck. And you're sitting there, darn it. Oh. Hey, speaking of players, Saquon Barkley, he was present at the Giants team facility, but he will not be available to participate in any OTAs. Also, he with his torn ACL, torn MCL, and torn meniscus as well, too. What do you guys think? I mean, thoughts? Saquon Barkley, are you even looking at him in the first round? He probably won't even get up to speed until the second half. What do you think, Jed?
No, I mean, but you guys know I've not been a Saquon Barkley fan for a couple years now. I don't trust what's happening with the Giants, and I think he's a phenomenal talent. It's just a situation where he's in the wrong, on the wrong team in the wrong situation. So I would not draft him in the first round. Honestly, I even think at the second round, I guess you probably couldn't. That's too much value to pass up in the second round. But I would not want him on my team.
All right, Jim, before you say anything, let me give you some. I found my stats. September 20th, Barkley tore his ACL in his right knees, damaged his meniscus and MCL, underwent surgery in October of 2020. April 28th, sources believe that he was on track to begin. May 17th, Giants co-owner indicated that Barkley may not be ready for week 1. On June 8th, he is not participating in OTAs.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that you were saying that because I was listening to the ESPN podcast with Matthew Berry, and they were talking about Saquon Barkley. They were saying usually if you just had an ACL injury, they would just bring you into surgery, right? But because he had the ACL and the meniscus, they actually had to let the meniscus heal first. And that's why there was a delay in putting in the surgery. And then all his rehab got pushed back as well, too. So they said quite honestly, not even expecting him to come back until mid-season. So that's what they were talking about. Like, would you draft him if he was available? And they said, quite honestly, if you were going to do it, make sure you get his backup. But they don't think that he's going to play for most of the first half.
You know what's interesting? I had that exact same injury.
Oh, did you?
It was
Yeah.
actually 10 years ago, but I tore my meniscus and had the ACL tear. And the problem is the PT instructions for both, they're opposite. They're opposed. So the instructions for the ACL tear is to get moving as soon as you can, because I had a replacement essentially. And then for the meniscus, it's to
You like
remain
to wait,
immobile.
right?
Yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
immobile. So then how do you do both? You can't. So you got to pick one, wait for that, and then move to the other.
Yeah. But okay, so now this year, I know Tommy last year was really high on Daniel Jones. I actually think Daniel Jones will be pretty good this year. Reports out of New York is that him and Kenny Galladay have actually connected pretty well. I actually wouldn't mind. I mean, I think just like I took a chance last year on Josh Allen, I'll take a chance this year on Daniel Jones.
Well, I don't know if Jones got better, but anyone having Kenny Galladay is going to look better. So Galladay is awesome. So I think that's a really good call. I think you're right. People are expecting the same Daniel Jones, but with Galladay, I mean, he's going to naturally improve.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute.
If you're looking at all of the other receivers on this team, you have Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney, John Ross, Kyle Rudolph, Evan Ingram. That's a lot of weapons. And Wayne Gallman, who was halfway decent for the New York Giants.
Yeah. I mean, look, and this is me showing my hand. I would not mind if my two quarterbacks this year was Stafford and Jones. I actually would be willing to go for it with those two. And then I would draft Justin Fields towards the bottom just to stash him away.
Yeah. Stafford is interesting. I'm wondering if this is going to rejuvenate. I mean, he's always been so consistent, so good. I wonder if this is going to push him to another level. So I totally hear you on Stafford, but I agree on the Giants. I would say of the New York teams, I'd much rather be with the Giants than with any Jets players. So I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And Jed, let me actually go with you. If you had a chance, Jim, I'll ask you this. If you had a chance between Saquon Barkley, Mike Davis, or Antonio Gibson, as of today, who would you pick?
Mike Davis is where again? He's not with Carolina, is
Atlanta.
He? Atlanta, okay.
And you're saying of those three, who would we pick?
Yep, correct.
I mean, Barkley is still a supreme talent. Like, I think of those three, I still probably would lean to Barkley.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I would do Gibson.
Yeah. I am all in on Gibson this year.
Gibson with Washington. Yeah, I could see that. Washington is again, hopefully not flying under the radar. They're going to be a super strong team this year.
Yeah, Gibson
Mike
is.
Davis. You never know about Mike Davis. You know, he
Atlanta
did pretty well last year. And with Matt Ryan and the folks they have, he might actually have a pretty decent year this year as well, too.
Yeah, I haven't read up on the line in Atlanta. That's the one thing I don't know is having, but I know Washington's line has been strong both sides of the ball. Yeah. So you might be right, actually. I think Gibson.
And they have Fitzgerald as quarterback. You know, I mean, he's actually a decent quarterback. I mean, he's not going to get you the stats, but the guy's a winner. I actually like Fitzgerald. Yeah.
It's magic.
Yeah, and what they're saying about Gibson is he is now lining up as a wide receiver. He's going to be playing a lot more wide receivers. They want him in the mold of Christian McCaffrey, how Ron Rivera used him in Carolina. I'm actually expecting big things. It's the summertime. I am all in on Antonio Gibson. He is my Kenyon Drake for this year.
So Tom,
is that good or bad? Because Kenyon
so Tom got a stats guy, right? Tom, you have a stats guy who's helping you with that. This is what I was listening to the other day. They were saying that all Ron Rivera wants and all Washington wants is speed. So if you look at every single person that they have or drafted, right? Everybody from Gibson to the wide receivers, all of them are fast runners. And
Curtis Samuel, McLaren, all those guys.
It's all fast guys. And so they're all going to go after speed. And honestly, you can see I can see Fitzpatrick like literally having some good fantasy games early on because he's just going to be throwing that ball, especially if you have Gibson line up as wide receivers as well, too.
Yeah, it sounds good. Hey, J.K. Dobbins, he is also lining up and made significant progress in the passing game. As we're looking at this, I know there's always that concern about the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Is he high on your list? Is he somebody you're going to sit there, man, I am all in on J.K. Dobbins this year? Jim?
You know what? I'm not a J.K. Dobbins guy. I was thinking if I was to pick a rookie from last year, it actually would be Cam Akers because I actually really like Cam Akers. I just don't trust any of the quarterbacks, including the quarterback from Kansas City. But when you have somebody like Lamar Jackson, you have somebody like Patrick Mahomes who can run and throw, that really takes away quite a bit from your running backs. And so I'm just not the type of person who's going to go after those types of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Hey,
From a
Jed, let me
fantasy
ask you a quick.
standpoint.
And Jed, let me ask you, give you another news. Coach Mike McCarthy indicated Tuesday that Michael Gallup is taking the next step in what is a young player and potentially is a breakout player this year. What do you think of Michael Gallup? Last year, CeeDee Lamb is there, and then you also have Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup, is he someone you're interested in at all?
That's interesting. And the reports of Prescott are that he's looking really good. So that's a good sign. And at some point, you feel like Cooper's got to take a step back. I think this is CeeDee Lamb's team for sure, but Gallup maybe could slot. Is this the year that he slots into the 2 and we see Cooper start to drop off? Maybe this is the year.
Hey, look, Amari Cooper is so overrated. He is the name recognition, everything. He always disappoints. He probably has 1 or 2 games, but always disappoints.
I mean, I kind of look at fantasy sometimes as a stock market. If you think about it, right, you want to sell Amari Cooper right now when he's high. You want to go after the Gallups and CeeDee Lambs of the world when they're really low. And my guess is, knowing the Cowboys, they're trying to position it so that they can let go of Cooper and keep the other 2. I mean, my guess is they'll also get rid of Ezekiel Elliott as well, too, because he's getting old.
Yeah. Well, hey, and last one, it looks like New York Jets running back Tevin Coleman is rumored to have the early edge as running back 1. Do you even care about Jets running back at this stage, Jed?
No, I already said I just avoid the Jets like the plague. I don't want any of those players. I mean, Coleman was nice with the 49ers and that kind of, he had that like kind of third down role, showed some nice moves, but I would stay away from the Jets.
How about the quarterback? Would you stash him away somewhere towards the end? You wouldn't?
No, there's like you said, like there's Fields, there's other quarterbacks I'd rather stash than him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the only one that I'm looking at, let's see, who is their starting? I gotta look. I don't even know who the Jets wide receivers are. I know they drafted one.
No, there's certain teams you just don't pay attention to. The players on the Jets is one of them, because you know that they're not going to do anything. And so why spend the time, the money, and the effort in the early rounds to pay attention to them?
Hey, did Frank Gore end up signing anywhere? I know he was with the Jets last year, the running back, and I know he's like almost 40 years old or something.
My guess, and I know Tommy's looking at it, my guess is he is, because I think his son is either coming into the league this year or next year, and he's always said he wanted to be the first father-son duo in the NFL. But that guy's old.
Yeah, there hasn't been a father-son duo in the NFL. That's interesting.
Yeah. Do you think Frank Gore will go to the Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's interesting. He has the total yardage numbers, but the whole thing is, how much do you value the consistency and the dependability? Because his longevity is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he was never really like the best running back. Maybe 1 or 2 years he was high up there, but you're right, the longevity and the numbers make a case for him.
All right, latest Frank Gore, that he says that he has received some calls, but he's waiting for the best opportunity, and if a contender calls, he will sign. Other than that, he might just retire. He's hoping that the 49ers might call him back.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will, give him a chance, because he's still a decent running back out there.
Well, dependable. I mean, and his pass blocking, of course, solid. So probably, even if he doesn't sign, I bet he won't retire, because he can wait to see what injuries happen.
Yeah, correct. Hey, there's it for me a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts on NBA playoffs.
I was just gonna say, if Jimmy is still going with his the Phoenix and Denver call, because I thought Phoenix looked really good. And actually, I was just thinking about this prediction we had said, Phoenix versus Brooklyn, and I forgot that both those franchises have not won a championship, and so that's kind of cool to have like a new, there'll be potentially a new champion if that ends up being the final. But I don't know if you changed your mind, Jimmy, or not.
Well, here's a couple of interesting stats. Did you know? So Utah and Phoenix could potentially play together in the Western Conference Finals. The last time each of those teams played in the conference finals were against the Bulls. So the last year was Utah. I think it was like 92, 93, and the same
90s.
thing with Phoenix. Right? I was like, whoa, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, Barkley in Phoenix, and then Karl Malone, John Stockton, Utah. Yep.
And do you guys know who the GM for the Phoenix Suns is?
No.
Former player James Jones.
Oh,
from Miami.
From Miami. He is the GM. Surprisingly, he is the GM.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hey, I never thought, Jed, let me ask you, are you surprised at how bad Milwaukee is this year?
I don't think they're bad. I just think they've always been built for the regular season and not for the playoffs. I think I had said potentially it would be a 5-game series. It might be a 4-game series now because I think Brooklyn is really so good that they're making Milwaukee look bad. And as you had said, Tommy, Middleton is just, I don't know what is wrong with Middleton. I don't know if there's an injury or something because he is looking awful. But the Bucks historically, you look at them, they've done well in the regular season. They hit the playoffs. They can barely get out of the first round.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you, Jim, let me ask you then this question. Giannis, Doncic, or Durant? Is Giannis still your best player?
No, I think Luka showed that this year he was the best player in the league because he can do everything, right?
Yeah, but man, Durant is still, I feel like Durant is still the champ. Like Luka, yes, but he could, I don't know. Durant is pretty phenomenal.
Durant when he wants to. Because he makes it look
but
so
he wants
easy,
to now.
right?
Look at him now. He's like tearing it up.
Yeah. But I think the Nets are lucky because they thought they would have to trot out Harden. Harden's going to will be able to sit out for the series is my guess.
Oh yeah, they're so locked in right now, Durant and Kyrie, that they don't need Harden, and they should be able to make it through.
Yeah. Hey, and I was really surprised at. Even this year, Steph Curry, he was amazing this year. I thought everyone would crowd around him. There weren't that many good players around in Golden State. Wow, he was just beating everyone this past year.
Yeah, I feel like Curry again, even though I feel like people undervalue him, to be honest. I just feel like he's an amazing, amazing talent. He's like a Luka. He's like a game changer.
Yeah.
And he'll get the credit once he goes into the Hall of Fame and things. People will realize he's like a Dirk Nowitzki. He just totally changed. Think about the 3-point shooting. When you think of Trae Young, when you think of Luka, that is all Steph Curry shooting from 4 or 5 feet beyond the arc. That's Steph Curry.
Yeah, I know we're not talking about Golden State, but I think the biggest mistake Golden State made this year was drafting James Wiseman because Wiseman didn't really help them at all. He's not that big compared to some of the rookies that they could have brought in. They would have done better if they brought in LaMelo Ball just to be the point guard, or even the kid out of Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, right? They would have helped him. My guess is they're going to try to trade him or at least field some offers for Wiseman this upcoming.
I totally missed on LaMelo Ball. My oldest son was high on him, and boy, he's looked good. If you've watched him, he does have that kind of sixth sense when it comes to passing that is just pretty phenomenal. And you're right. If he had been with Golden State, that would have been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Steph Curry, the person, again, we're not talking about all these other players, but the person I missed who I never thought would be so good, Jason Tatum. I actually think that guy is going to be a stud.
Oh, he is a stud. He already is. His ability to score is just unbelievable. And it's so Jason Tatum will get 20 points in the first half and you just didn't even notice. It's like all of a sudden you look at the stat board and you're like, he had 20 points because he's just so efficient. And so, he's definitely a star.
But with Boston as a team, were you guys surprised that Brad Stevens left his coach to move upstairs to be the GM?
Well, that explained why he turned down. Remember, he got the big offer from his alma mater. From Indiana for $10 million a year. And people were like, why did he turn that down? It's because he knew. And my son was asking me this. He was like, why is that a better position to be a GM versus coach? Just think of your quality of life. When you are a coach, you are traveling, you are working, 60-hour weeks. The GM is just sitting in his office enjoying figuring things out. Yeah. It's a much better move for him. So it makes a lot of sense.
They had this big debate on the Dan Patrick show, right? Because they said Brad Stevens is 44 years old. Why would he leave? And I'm like, if I was his age and we are his age, I'm headed to the GM spot. I'm not going to be doing I'm not going to be running these practices and traveling around. I'm going to sit up there and go hire somebody else to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, second to being an owner, I think GM is really probably the life dream, right? To be an owner of a team is the dream, but then if you can't do that, to be a GM is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But
All right, go ahead, Jim.
But Boston better fix, because Kemba Walker is actually on the decline, right? So you got Jaylen Brown, you've got Jason Tatum.
Supposedly, Dame Lillard. That's the big thing. They're saying if Dame Lillard went to Boston, that would be insane.
Yeah. They were trying to get rid of Marcus Smart. I think that's the person they're trying to, because they know that they can get some assets for him.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of that, last question: USA Olympics in Tokyo. Have you guys heard who's on the team? I don't know who's going to be on the team. LeBron James is going to be on the team. Steph Curry says he won't be on the team. So have you guys heard who's going to be on this team here?
Nope. I mean, my guess is Olympics will happen, but no, there's a big push for them not do the Olympics this year.
Yeah. Well,
that's interesting. No, I haven't heard anything, but I heard one thing about, apparently there's I don't know if it's tied to the Olympics, but there's some worldwide 3-on-3 tournament. And this is the first year that the US didn't make it. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
Got it. And the reason being, actually, I'm wrong. They said LeBron James will not be playing. Anthony Davis will not be playing. Steph Curry may play. Damian Lillard may play. They were hoping that Chris Paul would play, but because he's in the playoffs, there's a good chance he won't play because he needs some time off. And they were looking at Devin Booker and Trae Young. But those guys are still in the playoffs. And so the Olympic training will happen during the playoffs, so everyone's unsure.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know. I haven't been thinking about the Olympics at all, but we'll certainly start to pay attention.
Do you know who's going to be the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee? Grant Hill.
Oh,
so
nice.
Jerry Colangelo is stepping down and Grant Hill's taking over.
Oh, nice. I like Grant Hill, man.
Doncic did come in and say he's playing for his team, though.
Who?
Yeah, for his country.
Yeah,
Doncic,
of course. Yeah. I think all of these European international players, they all want to play for their team.
All right. Hey, Kawhi Leonard said he plans to play in the Olympics, but again, they're still in the playoffs. They probably won't be in very much longer, but yeah, they're still in the playoffs.
I don't know. We'll see. That's an interesting battle there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts? Baseball thoughts? Cubs thoughts? White Sox thoughts? Oh, let me ask you a quick question. If you were on the Cubs, are you buying? Are you selling? Are you keeping everyone like Chris Bryant? Are you trading Chris Bryant? Risk losing him in free agency and not having anything in return?
Oh, man. I got a Chris Bryant jersey, so I hope they don't trade him.
Well, as I was driving in this morning, they were on ESPN radio. They were saying the Cubs players have forced themselves into a situation where they're telling management, you can't trade us anymore, or you can't break this team apart because they're playing so well. Because right now, I mean, you heard it, the Cubs management was saying we can't re-sign some of these players because of money. Yeah. But now they don't have any excuses because everything's opened up and they're going to have tons of money flooding in. So I think these players are making a case that you better sign all of us.
Look, I'm sitting there. You look at the Cubs team; they're doing exceptionally well, but they did not sign Castellanos. They didn't sign John Lester for a measly $3 million. They didn't sign Yu Darvish. Can you imagine how well they would be playing if they had those three on the team?
Out of the three, if I were to keep one player, though, I would keep Javi Baez. I'd be willing to let Chris Bryant and Rizzo go, but Baez, I think, is the best player out of that group.
No, I totally agree. And the reason I disagree is you have a Chris Bryant who could play every single position, all the outfields, all the corner positions. He does really well. Javi Baez, unless it's a fastball, he cannot hit a curveball. And that is the problem, because after a while, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not throwing you any fastballs because you'll keep going after it.
Okay, but think about Bryant's in his free agent year. Who's his agent?
Scott Boras.
Right? That guy is going to try to milk everything from the Cubs. It's not worth it. Like, for me, I'm like, let Bryant go, put some money in Baez, bring in some good pitchers, bring in some younger guys, and you're good. Chris Bryant alone is going to take up all of their salary.
Yeah. Jed, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I've just been enjoying the fact Chicago teams are both doing so well. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it lasts. But, interesting. Unexpected. Well, the White Sox, I think we all expected them to do well this year. But the Cubs has been a nice unexpected one.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not a
last-
jersey guy. I'm not a jersey guy, but did you hear that the newest White Sox jersey has been so popular that it's sold out in 2 hours all over the city of Chicago?
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the Cubs have not sold out anything.
That's because they have so much merchandise out there.
Or more so, if you look at the new Wrigleyville, they look cheesy. A lot of people do not like it.
Oh, but the Sox, they said, is really popular.
Yeah, the
right?
Southside black ones have been
Yeah,
very
yeah.
popular.
Yeah, black and white. That's always a cool color
Yeah.
combo.
Well, that's because, I mean, if you notice, even Durant wears all their stuff, and they said all of the cool hip hop artists wear it as well, too.
All right. Well, hey, look, we'll get back together next week, and as usual, we'll continue our NFL conversation, sprinkled in with some Major League Baseball, sprinkled in with cryptocurrency and NBA playoff talk as well too. All right. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Nope, we're good.
Good
All
seeing
right.
you.
Talk soon, everyone.
All right, bye.